Think New England is all cozy cabins and fall foliage? Think again. Hidden in these woods and waters are creatures so dangerous, even the locals refuse to go near them. From tiny insects that can put you in the hospital to massive predators patrolling just off the coast, this region hides more danger than any postcard will ever show you. Here are the 12 you need to watch out for. Number 12. The snapping turtle. It looks slow. It looks harmless. It is neither. Snapping turtles hide under mud, leaves, and murky water in ponds and slow rivers across every New England state, and they can weigh up to 35 pounds in the wild. When you step too close, they strike in a split second, with a neck that extends almost the length of their own shell. Their jaws generate enough force to snap through bone, and unlike most turtles, they can't fully retreat into their shell, so their first instinct isn't to hide, it's to fight. Fishermen and kids wading in shallow water have lost fingers trying to move one off a dock or a boat ramp. Even out of water, on land during nesting season, they're faster and more aggressive than people expect, and they can lunge nearly the full length of their own body without warning. Some snapping turtles found in New England ponds are decades old, having lived quietly under the surface since before the people living nearby were even born. Locals know the rule. If you see one crossing a road or sitting in the grass, you leave it completely alone. And if you absolutely must move it, you do it from behind, never near that head, and never by the tail either, since that can injure its spine. Number 11. The bald-faced hornet. Not a bee, not a normal wasp. This is one of the most aggressive stinging insects in the region, and unlike a honeybee, it can sting you over and over without dying. Their nests, gray, papery, and football-shaped, hang in trees, bushes, and under eaves all over New England, sometimes growing to the size of a basketball by late summer. Disturb one, even by accident with a lawnmower or a hedge trimmer, and the entire colony pours out and attacks as one. They can chase a target for over 100 feet. Multiple stings deliver a large dose of venom fast, and for anyone allergic, that can trigger anaphylactic shock within minutes. Landscapers, roofers, and hikers have all learned the hard way to scan every branch, eave, and shed corner before they get close, because by the time you spot the nest, you're usually already too close. Pest control companies across the region report their busiest calls of the year come in late August and September, right when colonies peak in size and defensiveness before the first frost finally kills them off. Number 10. The deer tick. Tiny, almost invisible, barely bigger than a poppy seed in its nymph stage, and responsible for more chronic suffering in New England than almost anything else on this list. Deer ticks carry Lyme disease, along with anaplasmosis and babesiosis, and this region has some of the highest infection rates in the entire country, with tens of thousands of confirmed cases every year across Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Maine. They don't bite and run. They latch on quietly, often for 24 to 48 hours before you even notice, and that's exactly the window where disease transmission happens. One bite, left untreated, can cause joint damage, heart complications, facial paralysis, and neurological problems that last for years, sometimes for life. Locals check themselves and their kids head to toe after every hike, every walk through tall grass, every trip into the backyard. Some families keep a designated tick check routine before anyone's even allowed back inside the house. It's not paranoia. It's a daily ritual that most tourists never think to do, and doctors across the region say early removal within the first 24 hours is the single biggest factor in avoiding infection altogether. Number 9. The eastern coyote. New England's coyotes aren't quite like the ones out west. They're bigger, often 40 to 55 pounds, some carrying wolf DNA from decades of interbreeding as they migrated east through Canada. Locals call them coy wolves, and they're built different. Bigger jaws, more muscle, and none of the shyness people expect from a typical coyote. They travel in family packs, hunt most actively at dusk and dawn, and have been known to snatch small pets right out of fenced backyards in broad daylight. Attacks on humans are still rare, but they're rising, especially in suburban areas where coyotes have lost their natural fear of people after being fed, intentionally or not. There have been documented incidents of coyotes stalking joggers and approaching children at playgrounds in Massachusetts and Connecticut. Wildlife officials repeat the same warning every season. Never feed them, never run from them. Make yourself big and loud if one approaches, and never, ever turn your back and walk away. Some towns in Massachusetts have even started posting coyote activity alerts on community boards, the same way they'd post a weather warning after a string of bold daylight sightings near schools and parks. Number 8. The Fisher Cat. Despite the name, it doesn't catch fish, and it isn't a cat. It's actually one of the largest members of the weasel family, low to the ground, muscular, and built for chasing prey through thick brush. Its scream, a shrieking, guttural cry that echoes through the woods at night, has been mistaken for a woman being murdered more times than wildlife officials can count. Fishers are aggressive, fast, and one of the few predators in North America known to successfully hunt porcupines, flipping them onto their backs to attack the unprotected belly. They're strong enough to kill animals far bigger than themselves, including house cats and small dogs, and they don't hesitate to come close to homes if food or shelter is nearby. They climb trees with ease, hunt mostly at night, and simply do not back down the way most wild animals do when confronted. Homeowners near wooded areas in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont keep their pets inside after dark for a very specific reason. They've heard what happens to the ones that get left out, and the stories, along with the occasional pile of feathers or fur left behind, are enough to keep even the bravest dog owners cautious. Number 7. The lion's mane jellyfish. The largest jellyfish species on Earth drifts into New England's coastal waters every summer, and its tentacles, thin, nearly invisible underwater, can stretch over 100 feet from a bell that's sometimes bigger than a beach ball. Swimmers rarely see it coming until they're already tangled in it. Even a dead one washed up on the sand can still sting, its nematocysts staying active for hours or even days after it's beached. The venom causes intense burning, raised welts, and muscle cramping, and in rare cases, severe allergic reactions that require emergency treatment. Beachgoers in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Maine have been hospitalized after brushing against tentacles they never even saw coming, sometimes in water barely waist deep. Lifeguards along the coast now watch for reports of sightings the same way they watch for rip currents, because a bloom of these jellyfish can shut a beach down in an afternoon. Some years bring what locals call a jellyfish bloom, when dozens wash up on a single stretch of sand overnight, and longtime beach regulars know to check the tide line before they even set up a towel. Number 6. The copperhead. One of the region's 2 venomous snakes, the northern copperhead has a copper-red, hourglass-patterned body that blends perfectly into fallen leaves and rocky ledges. That camouflage is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Unlike a rattlesnake, it doesn't always warn you first. It often just freezes and hopes you walk past, and people don't see it until they've already stepped within striking range. Its bite delivers hemotoxic venom that destroys tissue at the bite site, causing severe swelling, blistering, and intense pain that can last for days. It's rarely fatal to healthy adults, but the recovery is brutal, sometimes involving hospital stays and permanent tissue damage if the bite goes untreated. Hikers, rock climbers, and stone wall builders in Connecticut and Massachusetts know that rocky, sun-warmed wooded hillsides are prime copperhead territory, especially in late summer when the snakes are most active and most easily stepped on. Emergency rooms across these 2 states treat more copperhead bites every year than any other snake in the region, simply because copperheads are more common and far less inclined to slither away first. Number 5. The timber rattlesnake, New England's other venomous snake, and by far the more feared of the 2. Once nearly wiped out by decades of hunting and habitat loss, timber rattlesnakes are now a protected species, making a slow, fragile comeback in isolated, rocky pockets of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Vermont. Their venom is a dangerous cocktail of toxins that attacks blood and tissue at the same time, causing swelling, internal bleeding, and severe pain that spreads far beyond the bite. They give warning with that iconic buzzing rattle, a sound most locals say they'll never forget the first time they hear it. But on a windy day or over rushing water, that rattle can be impossible to hear in time. If you don't hear it and you get bitten, it's a medical emergency requiring antivenom, and every minute counts. Locals in known rattlesnake habitats treat every sun-warmed rock ledge, every fallen log, and every crevice as a possible hiding spot, and they know exactly which trails to avoid in late spring. Some of these rattlesnake dens are so old and so ecologically important that their exact locations are kept confidential by state wildlife agencies, protected from both harm and curiosity seekers alike. Number 4. The moose. Forget the bears for a second. Moose cause more dangerous encounters in New England than almost any other large animal, mostly because people wildly underestimate them. These are not gentle giants. Bulls can weigh over 1,000 pounds, stand 6 feet tall at the shoulder, and still run up to 35 miles an hour despite that size. During the fall mating season, called the rut, bulls become unpredictable and territorial, and cows defending calves in spring will charge without any warning at all. Ears back, hackles up, and no room to negotiate. Their sheer mass makes any collision catastrophic, and unlike hitting a deer, hitting a moose means its body comes through the windshield instead of under the car. Maine and New Hampshire alone see hundreds of moose vehicle crashes every single year, and several of them are fatal, almost always at dawn or dusk on quiet rural highways where drivers never see it coming until it's standing in the headlights. Locals who drive these roads at night keep their speed down and their eyes on the shoulder for exactly this reason, because a moose's dark brown coat and long legs make it nearly invisible until the last second. Number 3. The black bear. New England's bear population has exploded over the past 2 decades, growing from a few thousand to well over 30,000 animals across the region. And that growth has pushed bears closer to towns, backyards, and hiking trails than ever before. They're not naturally aggressive toward humans, and most encounters end with the bear simply walking away. But a bear that's learned to associate people with food from an unsecured trash can, a bird feeder, or a grill left out overnight is a completely different animal. It loses its fear fast, and it starts showing up again and again, bolder each time. Break-ins, trash raids, and close encounters on porches and in driveways are becoming routine in Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Massachusetts, with some towns fielding dozens of bear calls in a single summer. Wildlife officers repeat the same warning constantly, season after season: never run, because that can trigger a chase instinct, back away slowly while making noise, and never, ever get between a mother and her cubs. Homeowners in bear country now invest in bear-proof trash cans and electric fencing around beehives and chicken coops, because once a bear finds an easy meal, it remembers exactly where to find it again. Number 2. The mountain lion. Officially, the eastern mountain lion was declared extinct decades ago. Unofficially, sightings keep happening across New England year after year, and wildlife agencies keep receiving reports, tracks, trail camera photos, and eyewitness accounts that they can't fully explain away. Whether it's a rare remnant population that survived the decline, or wandering males migrating in from populations out west, hunters, hikers, and even state troopers in remote parts of Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire swear they've seen large tawny cats with long tails that were absolutely not bobcats. If they're out there, they're solitary apex predators capable of taking down deer twice their own size, using a stalk and ambush attack that gives prey almost no warning at all. And an animal built to silently take down a deer from behind is more than capable of doing the same to a person who never even hears it coming. Every few years, a new photo or footprint cast reignites the debate, and every time, wildlife biologists quietly admit that some of the reports are simply too detailed and too consistent to dismiss entirely. Number 1. The great white shark. Just off the coast of Cape Cod lies one of the densest concentrations of great white sharks anywhere on the entire East Coast, and it's grown every year for the past 2 decades. Drawn in by a booming gray seal population that's exploded since federal protections took hold, these sharks patrol shockingly close to shore, sometimes tagged and tracked within just a few feet of swimmers and paddleboarders who have no idea anything is beneath them. Researchers have tagged hundreds of individual sharks in these waters, some returning to the exact same stretch of coastline summer after summer. Multiple attacks have been recorded in Massachusetts waters in recent years, including a fatal one that changed how the entire region treats beach safety. Lifeguards now watch live drone and spotter plane footage throughout the day. Beaches shut down at a moment's notice the second a fin or a shadow is spotted, and locals who grew up swimming these waters their entire lives, without a second thought, have quietly changed the way they think about the ocean forever. Surf shops sell shark warning flags, towns post real-time alerts on public apps, and longtime beachgoers now think twice before swimming past the sandbar, something that would have sounded absurd here just 20 years ago. 12 creatures, one region. From ticks you can barely see to sharks patrolling just offshore, New England hides a wild side most tourists never see coming and locals never stop respecting. The next time someone tells you New England is just quiet small towns and quaint harbors, remember every name on this list because the woods, the water, and even the backyard are watching right back. Which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and if you made it this far, you already know what to do next.